Greetings dear viewers and welcome to our new program Review. Here we will discuss hot news, events and topics in Uzbekistan and discuss them with the experts. Today's topic of discussion will be green economy and sustainable development in Uzbekistan. These days you may often hear two terms, green economy and sustainable development, and you probably may think that these two are the same. So before we dive into discussion, we have talked to the residents of Tashkent to get to know if they are aware of this topic and about these concepts.
Green economy? No, sorry, I don't know about that, to be honest.
Зеленая экономика – это экономика.
Yeah, green economy is an economy aimed at reducing the level of carbonization, that is, reducing air pollution by means of conducting additional green investments in the economy, make production more environmentally friendly. In Uzbekistan also, the number of green economies is increasing.
Green economy? It is, I think, something related to dollars, isn't it?
Зеленая экономика.
Green economy, I think about saving the environment and planting more trees. It may mean investing more money so that there will be more trees and greenery.
So I think green economy consists of recycling and reusing wastewater and so on. By 2030 we can have a stable green economy.
Yaxshi iqtisodiyot asosan ishlab chiqarish.
So take an example of construction. We are building houses that use solar panels. That's also a part of the green economy.
Green economy, it is maybe cleaning and having pure air. Green economy is to have progress on the economy. It is something related to the environment, to save animals, for example.
Green economy, an economic system that aims to reduce environmental risks and ecological scarcity as well, promoting sustainable development and economic growth. It is an economy that is low carbon, resource efficient and socially inclusive. The green economy seeks to create jobs and economic opportunities while reducing negative environmental impacts such as greenhouse gas emissions, pollution and depletion of natural resources.
The concept of green economy encompasses a wide range of industries and sectors, including renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, waste management, green transportation, and ecotourism, among others. It involves transitioning from linear economic model to a circular economy model that seeks to minimize waste and maximize the use of resources.
Now, sustainable development. It is a concept that refers to meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It involves balancing economic development, social well-being, and environmental protection to sustain all three aspects over the time.
Sustainable development aims to create a world where people can live fulfilling lives without degrading the natural systems that support life on Earth. This involves promoting economic growth that is inclusive and environmentally sustainable, as well as addressing social inequalities and protecting biodiversity and ecosystem services.
The green economy and sustainable development are related concepts that share many similarities but have some important differences. The green economy focuses on environmentally sustainable economic activities such as renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and ecotourism. The green economy is a subset of sustainable development as it is one of the how sustainable development can be achieved.
Current state of the green economy in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan has made considerable strides in establishing framework for a green economy. The government has implemented policies promoting renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable agriculture. Solar and wind energy projects have been launched in recent years, and there is a growing focus on reducing water and energy consumption in the agricultural sector, which is a major part of the country's economy. The country has also taken steps to promote green financing, including establishing the Uzbekistan Environmental Fund and introducing green bonds. Furthermore, Uzbekistan is seeking to attract foreign investments for its green initiatives, which has resulted in several international collaborations. Sustainable development initiatives. Uzbekistan has implemented several sustainable development initiatives in recent years. Here are some specific examples. The development of renewable energy sources. The country has launched a number of projects to develop these sources, including the construction of large-scale solar and wind farms. For example, the country's largest solar power plant, the 100-megawatt Samarkand solar power plant, was inaugurated in 2020. The promotion of sustainable agricultural practices. Uzbekistan is a major producer of cotton and other crops. The country has implemented a number of initiatives aimed at promoting sustainable agricultural practices. These include the development of drip irrigation system, which helped to conserve water and reduce fertilizer use, and promotion of organic farming practices. The implementation of energy efficiency measures. Uzbekistan has implemented many energy efficient measures, including introducing energy efficient lighting and appliances and implementing building codes to reduce energy consumption. For example, the government has launched a program to replace incandescent bulbs of LED bulbs and house households and public buildings. The protection of biodiversity. Uzbekistan has implemented a number of measures to protect its biodiversity, including the establishment of nature reserves and protected areas. For example, the country's Ugam-Chatkal National Park, which covers an area of 1,000 square kilometers, is home to a diverse range of flora and fauna and is an important site for conservation. The development of sustainable tourism. Uzbekistan has been promoting sustainable tourism to support economic growth while preserving culture and natural resources. The country has launched several initiatives to develop sustainable tourism, including development of eco-friendly tourist accommodations and promoting responsible tourism practices.
So the question arises here, why does Uzbekistan need green economy? In this regard, we have invited a special guest, an international expert in the field of green economy and a founder of Green Building Council of Uzbekistan, Timur Ahmedov. Good afternoon. Timur, it's a great pleasure to have you in our studio today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So my first question would be, how would you assess the current situation with the green economy in Uzbekistan?
We are at the starting point, for sure. There are big leaps in terms of renewable energy, for example, solar power. Of course, it's a lot of people seeing installations around the country. There are big installations of wind power are being planned right now. But there are still big parts of things like energy efficiency or resource efficiency on how we do things every day. Those parts of our economy need to change so that we actually transition to full what we may call green economy. So it has to be a holistic transition. So right now there are different pieces that are in play. We're making big steps, but we're still at the very start of this process.
So Uzbekistan has set a goal to reach the figure of 30% of green economy in the country. Do you think how much this is possible for us to achieve?
I would actually caution to against having like fixed goals like this. While you need to have goals for sure, but you may need to quantify goals like, for example, for renewable energy or for energy efficiency. Those are specific industries that are measurable. But the green economy itself, it's a very broad term. So it's very hard to say we're 30% green now as opposed to 20%. So setting up proper goals, measurable goals, smart goals, as they say, right, is critical so that we can see the progress or maybe we can see difficulties in the progress, but also we can actually show that we're actually achieving something. The transition for emerging markets or emerging economies like Uzbekistan to green economy, I think is even easier than for developed countries. A lot of people think that you need to have a lot of resources to transition to green economy. But there is a term called leapfrog effect, the frog jumping over something, right? So this term first appeared when we talked about cell phones, mobile communications. Like in some countries in Africa, for example, all of a sudden there were more mobile phones per person in their capitals than in big cities in Europe or United States. And the reason being that they bypassed the building of the old phone lines with wires and everything, they just jumped over that. So instead of spending money for the existing infrastructure, for the old infrastructure, they jumped over to the new technology, right? So in a developed economy, you already have wires in place, so transitioning to mobile phone was difficult. So this is a good example of how we can leapfrog, so we don't have to make the same mistakes, we don't have to go through the same steps, we can jump over and then go to a better technology. A very good example will be LED lights. When I came to Uzbekistan after being away for almost 20 years, in 2019, I saw a lot of buildings having LED lights. In the United States, a developed, well-off country, the distribution of LED lights was moving very slowly. Because you have existing infrastructure, you have lots of other light bulbs, fluorescent, incandescent, there are all sorts of opinions, warehouses full of light bulbs, so it's very difficult. Here the transition just jumped over. You know, why go over the not so good technologies if we can jump over to the good technology? So in a sense, this was a good example of successful transition to a better lighting technology in Uzbekistan ahead of some of the developed countries. So I want to use this example to showcase to like countries like Uzbekistan that you can transition even faster than developed countries if you really explore where the weak points, where the opportunities are, where the challenges are, and then see what kind of technologies exist, be open to the novelty, to new technologies, and see if we can jump over the old structure. We don't have to make the same mistakes. We don't have to build old infrastructure. We just need to jump over and build the good stuff.
Let's talk about the challenges and opportunities. Are there any possible risks or obstacles that Uzbekistan may face while transitioning into green economy?
One of the most challenging components of green economy is the fact that it is a knowledge-based economy. It's information-based economy. You have to have knowledgeable workforce, educated, informed workforce, because you're dealing with smart technologies. People talk about smart grid or smart buildings, right? To run smart buildings, you need to have smart people that are educated, they know about the technologies, they know how to think, because these technologies develop very fast. Again, let's use the example of IT industry, right? IT industry is developing very fast. So when people talk about entrepreneurs work in IT industry, there is an image of somebody who's innovative, energetic, they always come up with some ideas, right? So this what needs to happen with every other industry as well. So you need to have those type of people with good education, good experience, ideally with some maybe international experience, so they come in here and start developing our industries with the perspective of green economy. So the biggest challenge that we have, and not only Uzbekistan, this is the case around the world, but for Uzbekistan, we need to rapidly improve our educational system so that we can have our own workforce to design and build smart buildings, to design and build and run a smart grid, to run green businesses. This is probably the biggest challenge. Everything else can fall in place. You can have government policies, you can have incentives, you can have regulations, you can have international organizations involved. It's a structure that will help, but at the foundation, you need to have educated, well-informed workforce. That's I think the biggest part.
Talking about the education, let's take, for example, solar panels. Households, let's say they have set up the solar panels to the houses to be more green, but the problem is everything can break at any time. Let's imagine if the solar panel broke. How can people fix that? Because we don't have specialized people here in Uzbekistan yet. Talking about education.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, of course, everybody, like if they have a house, they try to be what they call jack of all trades. They try to learn every skill so they can maintain their buildings. Now, some of that equipment is already very specialized, and it's very hard for a person who is not part of this industry to become knowledgeable enough to repair battery storage, for example, or those solar panels. It is better left to professionals to fix those things. There are components that maybe electrician can fix and whatnot, but you need to have specialists fixing the problems there, not the homeowner, right? That's why usually, like if you look at the international experience, if you're dealing with the solar panels in the home, in individual homes, usually homeowners don't touch those systems. You have a company that sold the equipment, they provide the service, there's a service contract over so many years, and then they support the system. When you deal with commercial size systems, for example, for a factory or some large business or a farm, they're already large enough so they can hire a professional or train somebody within their team to maintain the systems, right? That, yes, you need to train those people, and then they can run. But on a household, I don't think that is a very good idea to actually to start changing things or repairing things with solar panels. Like, for example, most people don't repair TVs anymore. Like in the old days, you could open and do something because things were simpler. Right now, the systems are so complex, you need a specialist to come and repair your TV. Most people cannot repair a TV these days. Even if you think you can and open the manual, it's going to take forever and you'll probably break something, right? So the same thing with new green technologies like solar panels.
Now we have prepared a list of reports that I would like you to watch and comment on them, how you see these reports and what would you say?
By 2030, Uzbekistan proposed to renew entire transportation system with electric buses and cars. This is stated in the draft strategy Uzbekistan 2030. The draft strategy, however, does not mention other forms of electric transports, such as metro, tram or trolleybus. The chapter on ensuring the well-being of the population through sustainable economic growth aims to convert public transport to fully environmentally friendly fuels. In particular, the government plans to fully cover cities and districts with public transport, bringing the number of new buses to 5,000 and the number of electric buses to 2,000.
The Tashkent City Joint Stock Company train service has 8 bus yards, from which about 1,500 buses depart for the roads. Currently, 1,000 new buses have been purchased from China, of which 300 electric buses, 500 Yutong buses running on natural gas, 200 medium-capacity buses, and 300 new electric refrigerator buses have also been attached to the roads.
Tashkent City Development Plan for 2030 sets a goal of increasing the share of electric buses in public transport from the current 17% to 50%.
So what would you say on that?
For a large city like, for example, Tashkent, there has to be a general development plan, and within that general development plan, which includes infrastructure, buildings, standards, everything, right? You have what you may call a mobility plan, not a transportation plan that a lot of people talk about, but mobility plan. The idea is not to move cars or buses, the idea is to move people. Now, people can move differently. They can walk, they can ride a bicycle, they can drive a car, they can ride a taxi, bus, tramway, trolleybus, whatever. There are many options. So ideally, a city will have many different options on how to effectively move people from A to B. When you go out to the street, you need to go to work, to school, to grocery store. You know, families take their kids to daycare center. These are different needs that people have. So the mobility infrastructure should help people to move to take care of those tasks, right? And of course, ideally, the general trend is to provide electricity-based modes of transportation. Like we have little scooters right now, for example, people riding around. Sometimes it's not so comfortable because people bumped in, each other.
Yes.
But it is a mobility tool, and it's an electric tool. It's clean, right? So I don't think it should be just buses. As a reporter mentioned here that there's no mention of tramways or trolleybuses. Tramways, for example, are a worldwide accepted mode of transportation as an effective way of moving people from A to B. I'll give you an example. A very automotive cities like Dallas, Texas, or Houston, Texas. These are cities that were built around cars. Long, wide roads, multi-level bridges and everything. Huge cities, they cover large territories, right? They invested into tramways over the years. A lot of money billions of dollars put into setting up tramways. Why would a city that is well designed for cars start putting tramways? Because they figured that as an effective way of dealing with traffic jams, would be providing some comfortable, safe, working like a clock on a schedule way of transportation, right? So once they studied the center and they set up the tramways, they learned that people started using tramways. They parked their car and then they got on tramway and then they moved around. So they reduced the amount of traffic in the center of the city because of the tramways in a city of like Dallas, right? So from that perspective, yes, it's a good thing that the transition overall to electric transportation, that's a good thing. But this is not, in my opinion, a sufficient strategy. You need to look more comprehensively. And then if you kind of expand from the city, of course you have large cities, Tashkent, Samarkand, and Bukhara, and Namangan, and whatnot. You set up transportation links between, so people can move easily between the cities. That way you don't have to grow each city like Tashkent, keeps growing and growing, right? If you were able to go to Samarkand in 1 hour, for example, then you can have a job in Tashkent and live in Samarkand because it's just 1 hour on a train, right? So, because if the cities keep growing, then the transportation problem will keep growing. Then these 1,000 buses will do nothing.
Okay, now let's move to the second report.
Okay.
The Ministry of Energy reports struggles in the fuel and energy complex of the country. One of the reasons why electricity cut-offs happens due to the work on modernization and reconstruction. Another one is the hot weather in July, making it difficult to supply electricity.
Energy Ministry of Uzbekistan has reported targeted shutdowns in several areas for the safe modernization and reconstruction work. Over 500 transformer substations and about 600 kilometers of power transmission lines were repaired in Tashkent. The ministry has replaced low power transformers with the high power transformers at several substations. Construction of new substations and power transmission networks is ongoing. The ministry emphasized that temporary disconnection is necessary to prevent risks to electricians and consumers' health and life and avoid unexpected accidents. The weather conditions in July have made the electricity supply difficult, and the ministry has urged consumers to observe energy-saving measures.
Okay, so my question in this regard would be, do we have to cut off the electricity every season in order to prepare for another season? Does it make sense in this case?
First thing I want to say, I want to express my deepest appreciation for the people who work in the field. They fix wires, they fix equipment there. Like last winter, they were there at night during the cold, and now in the heat of the summer, they're trying to fix things. So these people are heroes because they're trying to keep things running. This is sort of on the day-to-day level. To your question, the grid consists of, on one side, generation, which is power stations, including many thousands of solar stations now. And on the other side, you have consumption, which is our homes, factories, shopping malls, everything, right? So this system needs to stay in balance. If it doesn't stay in balance, then we'll have power outages that are not controlled. What we had last winter were uncontrolled power outages, when the substation will burn and wires will be cut, and then you will sit without power for 10 hours or 12 hours, and then they try to fix it. Now they're doing control shutdowns. Now, this is not pleasant. This is costing businesses a lot of money. This may actually have health effects on people, because some people are very sensitive to heat. For example, if they have weak heart, this is challenging for hospitals when you have like that. Now, to catch up, we may need temporary shutdowns, yes. However, what needs to happen, we need to have a comprehensive strategy that involves both the generation side and the efficiency side. You cannot just say, please turn off your light bulbs and whatnot. It has to be a systematic program. The good thing is there are examples of those programs in many countries of the world. Now, I use my experience from the United States, but there are programs in Europe, in South Korea, in India, in Japan, wherever. So we can use that example and figure out how we can organize the consumption side so that the system is not overloaded. I can tell you from my own experience and from what I saw here for the last 3.5 years, that the biggest problem is not even that we use a lot of energy, we waste a lot of energy. That's the critical part. Easily 20–30% of energy is just wasted. These are doors that don't close well, so air-conditioned air leaves the building. Lots of problems in the buildings, in how the factories are managed and whatnot. So you waste a lot of energy. So if you're talking about 20-30% of energy being wasted, this is a large power plant. This is like Charvak hydropower plant on that scale. Imagine you running the whole Charvak just to cover the waste, not to do something useful, but to cover all the leaks in the buildings and everything. So we need to make the whole system smarter. We need to have the whole system more optimized, more efficient. It doesn't mean that we need to have shutdowns, but in the current situation, they don't have any other ways to control this, unfortunately. So we need a program, a systematic program. Unfortunately, we don't have that.
Let's move on to the next report.
Electricity supply will be suspended in 2 parts of Tashkent due to ongoing modernization and maintenance of power grid facilities during the summer. Scheduled power outages are planned for the first day of August, affecting specific areas in Bektemir and Chilanzar districts.
The purpose of these outages is to upgrade power lines and transformers in preparation for the upcoming autumn-winter season. Temporary suspension of power supply is scheduled for August 1st in the Bektemir district, some streets of Sohil neighborhood from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Chilanzar district, parts of Lutfi neighborhood from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Earlier on June 8, widespread power outages affected different parts of Tashkent, leaving 8 districts without electricity and impacting the supply of cold and hot water in some areas. Since then, efforts have been focused on repairing local networks, resulting in mostly localized outages in certain neighborhoods and mahallas. However, emergency power outages are still being reported occasionally.
What could you say on that? What's your first comment?
I think it's, first of all, they have to do it to keep the system balanced. They don't have other options from the way they manage the system now. However, there are better ways of doing these things. There are so-called demand-side management programs. These are what other countries are doing, where you can take, I'll give you an example. Let's say there is a large factory that consumes a lot of energy, right? And then you have on this side, you have 10,000 homes. The large factory can shut its power usage for a couple of hours and use generators, for example. They will use as much energy as 10,000 homes. So if you plan for it, then you can work out some sort of plan with this factory and say, okay, these 2 hours you will run on the generator, we'll give you money for your generator so that you're off the grid, and then we don't have to touch these 10,000 homes. This would be an effective way of running this program, because yes, they have to have those outages so they can fix the lines, they can prepare those transformer stations and everything. Yes, they need that. But I think there are better ways of doing that, not the way they're doing it right now.
I see. My final question to you would be, what recommendations would you give to the government to achieve this goal as quickly as possible?
On the governmental level, of course, as I mentioned at the very start, number one thing needs to be education. That we need professionals in this country, urgently need professionals in this country. So the educational programs need to be set up like yesterday, right? Because all this transition, all these solar power systems, wind, smart grid, they all need people, educated, trained people. So this is urgent, this is what we need. But another part is the programs that the government designs, the goals they set up. They all need to be based on what you may call like objective data. We need to have good information about how much buildings use or how much factories use, how much they waste, and then develop a plan that has multiple components, not just one thing, let's just turn this off, or one thing, let's just change the price. Right? It's a comprehensive program. It needs to be a comprehensive program. And invite specialists, go to other countries, learn from their programs, take time. Don't do it like in 2 weeks. It doesn't work like that, right? You need time. You need 2 months, 3 months, 6 months to develop a good program. And then move according to that program.
Thank you so much, Timur, for this interview. It was a very great pleasure to talk to you about this topic.
Thank you, Camila, for inviting me and for organizing this, because I think these are important questions that need to be addressed. And this is a tremendous opportunity for Uzbekistan to leapfrog, as I mentioned. And so if programs like that share knowledge and more people participate, more people learn how they can participate, I think, we may have bright and green future for Uzbekistan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear viewers, for watching this first ever program review. See you in the next episodes.